welcome to the Asset Revolution podcast, where each week your hosts from Arbor Digital provide educational opportunities for financial advisors and individual investors to gain knowledge in this emerging powerhouse that is digital asset investing. The Asset Revolution podcast is your connection to the future of digital assets and an opportunity for anyone to get off zero. Let's dive in. Alrighty. Welcome to this edition of Asset Revolution. With me today, I have someone who I have admired from afar, and not just him, but the group that he works for, and then a couple other groups that he's a part of. So I'm excited for him to tell you all about that. So without further ado, Justin, welcome to the podcast, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, Mark, appreciate you having me on. And if this is video, I apologize for dodging. I forgot to accept that this is being recorded. So I need to get that off my screen. So that's why I was dancing while you were talking. But as you mentioned, so my name is Justin Castelli, and I wear a number of hats. And I think the most important hat I wear first starts at home. I'm a father to three boys, Roman, Leo, and Silas, which are the letters of my registered investment advisory firm that I started 6 years ago. And a husband to my wife, Angela, who is also an entrepreneur and owns her own boys clothing boutique called Roman and Leo. So I always like to joke with her that I obviously love the boys more because I rebranded my firm from RL Wealth Management to RLS Wealth. And she kept the store name Roman and Leo and didn't incorporate Silas. But that's really like, they are the center of everything that I do. So as you're going to hear real quick, I have a number of ventures I've kind of found myself into, or I have kind of built out. But everything centers around being able to be present and being with them. And that's the most important. And at any time that I see that any of that stuff is suffering, I'm dropping the professional things that I'm pursuing and those other things because they're first and foremost. So that's Wonderful. The first part of who I am. Also, personally, I love hip hop. I'm a big hip hop fan. You can see Biggie and Nipsey Hussle on the wall, depending on how far this goes out. And grew up playing basketball. I live in Indiana. So my firm, RLS Wealth, which is venture number one, is a registered investment advisory based in Fishers, Indiana. I've grown up in Indiana my whole life. And I started my firm 6 years ago. Traditional financial advisor story. Started at a firm that wasn't the right fit. It was an insurance-based firm. Went to a bank for a year. I used to say spent most of my career at a 403B company because that was 7 years. But now that I'm getting older, that's only a part of my career now because my advisory firm is almost as old. At the 403B for 7 years. And that was kind of where I realized that one day I wanted to go independent. There was a way I wanted to work with my clients, but I'm not a very aggressive person. So I needed to stay there to kind of grow my client base, if you will. And then one day go out on my own. Was going to go out on my own from the 403B company, made a stop at an independent firm in town, stayed there 2 years. And then that's when I ultimately realized it was time to go do my own thing. And that's when I launched my firm. So I've been running that firm. I don't have a niche that I work. When I started is because I wanted to work with anybody. Mm-hmm. I didn't have minimums. I had a subscription model that I launched. I have traditional AUM, and I have three types of relationships that we really offer that determines which kind of fee structure clients would go into. So subscription model is more young professional. You graduate to the traditional assets under management model. That's more of the wealth management. And as you graduate up, the services increase, the level of service increases as you pay more because you need more and you need more of that. So really proud of where the firm's gone. But also over the years, I've realized I have interest in doing other things. And I recently decided to stop growing the RIA, keep the clients that I have, freeze it, just work with them and pursue an opportunity with OnRamp Invest. So OnRamp Invest is a startup company that is in the fintech space. And we're basically building the platform to bring crypto assets to the financial advisor workflow and relationship. So allowing advisors to see crypto assets that are being held away, allowing advisors to buy and sell Bitcoin and ETH for their clients, and then taking that information and then putting it into the advisor workflow, whether that's to the CRM, financial planning software, portfolio system, and just bringing this place in because we believe, and I think it's harder to argue against, that crypto assets aren't going anywhere. And if advisors are really going to live up to the fiduciary standard that we have, we're going to go do a good job for our clients, then we need to at minimum know what they have, be able to advise on it. And in some instances, maybe advisors want to buy and sell it for them. And nothing exists until OnRamp that would allow advisors to do that. So when I started into my firm, one of my big things was when when I launched my firm, I wanted to disrupt the profession in whatever way I could. And early on, that was showing up to conferences wearing Jordans or graphic tees.
Oh, you're
not
a sneakerhead a little bit, huh?
I am.
Okay.
Yes. I told you I played basketball and I grew up in the ages of Jordan. So now that they're all available, I get to go back and get all the Jordans I never got to have when I was younger.
Well, hey man, we grew up in the same age then, and I grew up in Southern California.
Okay.
Very much a part of the hip hop movement, East Coast, West Coast thing, and basketball player at heart first, tennis player second. But so I'm with you, man. I'm resonating with you, but keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, real quick tangent. I love going on tangents. So I'm a Midwest boy my whole life, but I have West Coast in me. Like if I chose where I lived, it would probably be California, and we won't go there, but I have West Coast in me. Like as silly as it is, just little things like I love wearing Vans, which is a stereotype of the West Coast, dress. My favorite hip hop growing up was West Coast. Like I was Snoop and Dre. So I have West Coast in me. So we're even closer to each other than we really realize.
Oh, that's awesome.
But going back away from that tangent, going back to OnRamp, for me, it was exciting because I wanted to make an impact on my profession, and I wanted to figure out ways to. So early on, I was just going to conferences and being myself. And then it became kind of helping advisors realize that it's okay to be authentic and be yourself and showcase who you really are, that can actually help you grow your business. So like day one of launching Arliss Wealth, no more suits. I dressed the way I wanted to dress. My office, as you can see, is decorated that you know who I am and what I'm about. There's like a Gary Vee wall over here that has every Kendrick Lamar CD, every J. Cole CD, like who I am is represented on that wall. And the reason I love that, and I try to encourage more advisors to think this way, is that allows people who like that, who want their advisor to be that way, find me, and that, it's a better relationship. And it also allows the people who don't want their advisor to have a tattoo or listen to rap, not call me, because it's not going to be a good fit.
Exactly,
so I started to learn that, and fast forward, OnRamp gives me the opportunity to disrupt my profession and leave an impact on the profession by ushering in a new way of investing. But ultimately, I think will be a new way of working with clients. Everything from the way that we are compensated, to the way the relationship works, to the way money moves and how clients maybe hold their assets away. And we go more towards advice, even more so than we are today. Like, I think that this asset class is going to usher that in, and OnRamp is going to be the first company that brings that to it for the advisors. We won't be the only one.
Yeah.
And then the final venture I'll throw out there is through all of these, creating content and talking to advisors about branding and marketing. My colleague, Taylor Schulte, who's a financial advisor in San Diego, we met on Twitter, became friends. And in 2019, we launched a community for financial advisors called the AGC, which is 180 advisors strong today, technically global. We have members in the UK, India, and Canada, in addition to the US. It's just a place for advisors to get together and collaborate, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, because technically we could view each other as competitors. But the unifying thing to this group is we all view each other as people that we can learn from and get better from. And we're better working together. We can take better care of our clients when we have each other as a resource rather than, arguing against each other. So it's pretty cool that that's there. So those are the ventures that I've kind of stumbled into over the years, and who knows what will come down the road.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you diving into so much of your background, both as a human and professionally. And it makes me just even more excited about what we're going to talk about. And we're going to hit on a lot of those elements you kind of already hit on with, like OnRamp, disrupting the industry, kind of how the advisor business looks, and even just how the world is going to engage with financial services in the future. Oh man, where do we even get started? Okay, let's do this. Okay, so let's start off with this. Especially because it's a current event and it's a hot topic right now. Facebook is rebranding to Meta and getting in the metaverse, and even since then, Microsoft has come out and announced that they are going to get involved and build a metaverse. And then Nike also came out and said that they are actually filing for patents within the metaverse for their logos, for their catchphrases. And man, I thought these companies were going to just add BTC to their balance sheets, but they're going to the metaverse. Like, what the heck is going on? So I'd love to hear your thoughts so far on like what that represents.
So this is where I'm going to sound like a boomer. Like I will never, like, it's going to be legit, and there's going to be huge business opportunities in there. I just don't envision myself spending a lot of my time in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Now I get I get why it's there, and I get that people will. So I'm not gonna dismiss it like people have dismissed crypto assets up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, and I haven't spent a lot of time researching exactly what this is going to be like, because I just don't see myself sitting with some goggles on, experiencing life in the metaverse when there's a universe that I can go be in.
Yep.
But it's going to be there. But I think it makes total sense. And if anything, that just solidifies the fact that the crypto asset world, because that's going to be a part of the metaverse, is here to stay. And even so much, not so much that it's going to be crypto assets or cryptocurrency that's going to be funding all of this. I think it will be, but just this digital age that people don't understand. So they dismiss that it's not going anywhere. You look at NFTs and how that it's probably bubblish right now, how that big boom in NFTs have gone. People don't understand. Well, why would you? It's a JPEG. I can copy and paste it. Why would I want digital art? Well, you, Mr. 65-year-old boomer, you may not, but a 25-year-old who has grown up in the digital age, they do want that. And it's just a difference in philosophies. It's a difference in the experience that people had in their lives that are moving us this direction. It's going to be more digital. So I just look at that as that just tells me that all the stuff that I'm excited about, it's not going anywhere. And it's only going to become a bigger part of what's going on. Yeah. But again, I say this now, in 5 years, we might be doing this podcast in the metaverse, and here I am with my goggles on. And that's where I see use cases to be kind of cool, that instead of doing Zoom meetings, we all throw our goggles on and we're our avatars and we're in the same conference room in the metaverse. But to like sit and experience life that way, I don't see. But the wild thing is the fact that like Nike needs to file patents for a digital universe. Like, why wouldn't the patents that exist here on Earth exist in there? Which is it's just wild. So I think it's exciting. And honestly, as much as I don't see myself doing it, I just think the innovation and the things that are going to come from it outside of it and the advancements it pulls in other areas is going to be great.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And I know it's put you on the spot a little bit, but you don't sound boomer, man. Don't
I was joking
like that, but I know. But yeah, no, it's similar for us, right? Like, as part of our research and analysis that we've done at Arbor Digital, we actually, full disclosure, we do have a position in Mana and the Sandbox, but in our due diligence over the, at the beginning of the year before we allocated, was engaging with it, with talking to developers and doing our fundamental analysis and all of that stuff. And that's all good and well. But I think the bigger picture thing that happened with Facebook doing this, Nike doing this, Microsoft, whatever, right? I think the impact for advisors, because our audience is advisors, is much more simple. The simple fact is a majority of your clients have Facebook, have Microsoft, have Nike in their portfolios, and they're going to read these headlines and they're going to call their advisor and they're going to say, what the heck is this? Why are they doing this? Like, you're taking one of the biggest companies in the world right now who's completely shifting and saying, we're going to go in this new direction. Like, that can't be understated. And if you're going to allocate money to Facebook now, you may have to have a stance. So I feel like it's going to be this forced, area for advisors to have to now, like, oh, I guess now we have to really go down that educational rabbit hole. And that's why I like it. It's not, and we can go off on the side tangent about metaverse and all that stuff. I think that's super far away. Like, these are the very, very early. If crypto is still in like the pre-inning warm up, people haven't even bought tickets yet to the metaverse. Like, people are right. But so like, I guess that's the way I think about it. And I feel like a lot of that forced education is going to happen, like with more combining of the traditional world and these traditional assets and these traditional companies that are going to see the value that crypto is going to bring. So I don't know, like, that's what I find myself thinking about is, okay, Facebook is now doing this. How do advisors talk to them? But what do they have to do now?
Well, I think that you hit on the head. It's all about education. And I guess you could choose not to educate yourself on the space, but you're going to lose. Like, clients expect us to know. And even if you don't believe in it, like, this is what I would tell advisors about crypto. Even if you don't believe in it, you have to be able to talk about it. You have to answer questions. And whether that is helping clients on crypto or answering questions about, well, what does this mean for my Facebook or my Nike or my Microsoft position? You've got to be able to have an educated conversation about it and state your opinion. You just can't say, oh, this is just going to go away. Don't worry about it. It means nothing for Nike because this is only a fad. Mm-hmm. If you can't substantiate that and back that up other than just your opinion, I think you lose credibility in your clients. And I also think clients want us as advisors staying up to date. Like we have CE. To me, I think CE should be learning about metaverse and crypto and like educating ourselves as advisors about things that are actually relevant rather than picking the same, annuity sales type thing or like the silly CE stuff we all blow through just to complete it. That doesn't really help us. It should be encouraging us to learn and stay ahead because then you end up.
And real quick, just sorry not to interrupt. For those of you who are listening who don't know what CE is, that means continuing education, which CFP holders, any designation holders, like have to go through continuing education to maintain their status with their credentials. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Justin.
No, all good. And just some commentary on that. Like the thought behind CE is good. It's requiring us as advisors every couple of years to have a certain amount of hours of showing that we are continuing to educate ourselves. And, doctors have and everybody else. But the reality of it is we just flow through it real quick and take the easiest test and then move on. We're not really using the CE to move ourselves. I do my CE for myself because I want to know more all of the time, reading Twitter, reading newsletters. Like I'm constantly educating myself, but the CE that we're given from those boards isn't really moving us in the right direction. So advisors fall back on that and they're not keeping up with what's going on. And then we're going to get to the whole wealth transfer conversation, which is even more reason for advisors, if not them, to have somebody at their firm know about this stuff. Absolutely. Because that wealth transfer is going to the generation that is living in this stuff and wants it. And if you can't speak to that, then you have no chance at retaining those clients or those assets when that transfer happens.
Yeah. Amen. And I think so continuing education, and I didn't mean to interrupt you while you're going through it, but I think you said it, like you nailed it on the head too, is it all starts with education. So we partner with OnRamp Academy. We love OnRamp Academy and what you guys do and all of that stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about how that got started? What kind of the vision is for that and like how you're helping advisors today?
Yeah. OnRamp Academy is probably one of our most popular features. It's probably the most important one, and it almost didn't happen. It was a last minute. It was not in a bad way. It was a last minute thought before we launched product. So back in May, we launched product. As Tyrone likes to say, the RIA space had its iPhone moment. But leading up to that, we were like, well, we should, like, what if we create some education to go with it? And once it was spoken, it was like, that's obvious. Why would we not do that? So we started creating content, and now we're partnering with other companies like you all to bring education to the advisor. So we have an acronym at OnRamp, EAT: education, access, and tools. That's what we want to bring to advisors. We are starting with EAT. I always say it's EAT, not 8. We're not ending with education. We want you as the advisor to start with education. Because even though we live in this world and we want every advisor to be allocating to it, we don't think every advisor today should be allocating to crypto. We don't think every client should have it, because if you don't understand it, you shouldn't be investing in it. So it starts with education. Inside of Academy, we have everything an advisor could need, and the library keeps on growing, starting with 101s. What is blockchain? What's the difference between big B and little b Bitcoin? Explain Bitcoin to me as a 5th grader, just the fundamentals, starting there and then building upon it. We've got practice management, checklists to go through with advisor or with your clients, checklists for compliance, ADV sample language. What do you need to do for your CRS? Making sure that you're evolving your practice for what's necessary when it comes to crypto assets in this new age of investing. We've got tools to do some like modeling. So you want to know, what does a 5% allocation to Bitcoin look like in a 60-40 portfolio? Put it in there, run the numbers. You can see like what historical performance would have been, what the risk metrics were, what the volatility was, just so you can model it out and see if your thesis for it matches what the experience was and whether or not it makes sense for you to invest in it going forward. And we can't do it all alone. So having partners like Arbor allows us to build this out in areas that we may not be experts in. We partnered with Barnbridge to do a DeFi series. We know about DeFi, but we don't live in it like they do. So the goal is to be the one-stop shop for advisors when it comes to crypto. If all you need at this point is education, Academy is there. And then what happens, as you probably know, if you've gone through the crypto rabbit hole yourself, you learn a little bit, you kind of get a little bit of access to it, and then you get comfortable with it. You start going further into it. And sometimes people stop there, and other times they go like I did and drink the Kool-Aid and go way down the rabbit hole. And get really into it. But again, it's all resources and designed to educate you. And as an advisor, if all you ever did with us was be an On-Ramp Academy user, that's perfectly fine for us, because that's what you need for your practice to serve your clients. Then that's what we want to bring to you. And we want to be the go-to resource and the one that advisors trust the most, given who we are. And I think one of the unique things that On-Ramp Academy brings is we've got the knowledge base there, but we also have a lot of advisors who are part of the company. Our CEO, Tyrone Ross, is a financial advisor. Eric Irvin, the co-founder, was a financial advisor for 20 plus years. I'm a financial advisor who's still practicing. We've got a financial advisor on our customer success who's a CFP. Our CMO was a financial advisor. So, it's one thing to give you the information about this space. It's another to give the information to you, an advisor, in a way that makes sense for your practice. So not only are we educating you, but like, what does this mean to you as a financial advisor? That type of education is different than going to CoinDesk or another crypto company out there and just learning about Bitcoin. So that's, I think, one of the unique things that Academy brings that other resources out there don't have.
Yeah. No, and thank you for diving into all that, because I think the community who's listening to this, all financial advisors is the target. So education, we lead with it, right? You guys lead with it. It's so important to this space before even thinking about putting any capital to work, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, or anything else. But let's dive in a little bit. Where do I even want to start with this? So after we call it the advisor adoption spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. So again, always starting with that education. And a lot of times you actually end up telling an advisor, hey, you're not quite ready yet. Here are some action steps to happen before that. Once you get there, you can get to us. But you mentioned it before. Let's talk a little bit about like this wealth transfer that's happening, because I think that's been a thing. I used to work as a consultant, right? For a really big investment management firm. One thing I learned is that advisors are very tribal, right? Especially when they're within their own four walls, right? Whether you're at whichever firm you're at, and they always want to understand, hey, what are the top performers doing that I'm not, and that I could use to propel my business, right? So I think with that comes this idea that there's this big wealth transfer happening, right? So advisors are trying to establish themselves to be ready for that. And this was happening back in 2015 when I was going throughout big markets in San Francisco and New York City to help coach advisors to say, hey, here's how you can get ready for that. And it's not just going to be simply a phone call to your clients to say, hey, I've never met your grandson or your son. I would love to meet them at some point and invite them to a dinner. That may be the traditional way. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned before, digitally native, they're going to be so used to technology and engaging with financial services in a certain way. So give us your view a little bit on kind of the impact of that wealth transfer, not just that money is moving, but just that there's a whole generation and their behaviors and their habits are different. And how should advisors be thinking about positioning themselves for that? And I agree with you, crypto is just going to accelerate that. But anyway, go for it.
Yeah, I think it, like, even all the way to the service model. So historically, the advisors operate under the AUM model, charging assets under management. Usually there's a minimum that a lot of young professionals today don't meet. Maybe they have the investable assets, but it's in their 401k or they're accumulating. So most advisors aren't going to meet with them. And you're seeing a rise of younger advisors, stereotypically, who are creating flat fees, subscription models, and are building relationships to the needs of a young professional today. My belief is that those people who are working with those younger advisors or the subscription model advisors, when they inherit that wealth, they're not going to all of a sudden leave that advisor because now they have more money. If that advisor's done a good job, I think if anything, they're going to be super loyal to them because, hey, you took me on before I had anything. Yep. Like, you were working with me while I was saving. You helped me pay down student loans. You helped me buy my first house. I'm not going anywhere. And that money's going to move from the old AUM model to this subscription model. Now, I don't know if advisors adjust their subscription model and start charging AUM. I think that's a tough sell, but maybe that happens. So I think that's one thing we'll see, is that those who are going to inherit this wealth probably aren't working with the advisor where it sits today. Yep. But a lot of them are working with advisors who have been creative and creative models for them today. And that money's going to go that direction. If I'm an advisor who has an existing firm that's heavier on the older generation, I would be thinking about, if I want my firm to be around another 20, 30 years, that I need to start a relationship for the kids and grandkids of my existing clients and just roll it out. Everybody wants to leave the generation behind them better. Most of us do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be a very easy sale, if you will. Mr. and Mrs. Client, we realize that one of your goals is to make sure your kids inherit this wealth and are responsible with it. And rather than waiting until they inherit it, we have a model that is lower price. Mom and dad can pay for it if they want to, but we'll do the basic planning with them. We'll plan with them on things that are relevant to where they are in their life, whether that's, the basics, college funding, whatever it might be, and then build that relationship. So then when that time happens that this wealth is going to transfer, they already know the firm. They're already at the firm. They've been working with them. So there's no reason for them to even consider to leave. Mm-hmm. So, I think you got to be thinking 2 steps forward if you have that firm. If you're the younger advisor who has the subscription model and you're slowly growing, I think you're licking your chops and you're excited about what the future holds for you, because I think you're going to have hockey stick growth. It's going to happen real quick. And on top of that, y'all look at the young professionals I started working with 6 years ago, they're hitting their high earning years now. Yep. So now they're saving more with me as well. So I think that there's a tremendous opportunity to serve people who've been missed before. And because you're doing it for the right reasons, which is what I really believe in, doing things for the right reasons, because you're helping them for the right reasons, you have the skill set, you want to work with them, and there's value you can provide, you're going to have a very good business payoff down the road when they start inheriting money. So I'm thinking you need to have, I think every ADV should have a subscription model or a flat fee as an option, so that you can work with young professionals who don't have assets for you to bill, but that you can be fairly compensated for the work you put in, and they're able to work with you and get advice. What I think is going to happen, AUM doesn't go away, but I think AUM becomes a smaller portion of the overall advisor revenue model, and subscription and flat fees grow. Because what I think is going to happen is when you're on a subscription model for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden you inherit some money, I don't know if you as the client will all of a sudden want to pay double just because you inherited some money. Yeah. And maybe it goes up some, but I don't know if they make that leap that quick. The other thing I think with this younger digitally native, generation, they've been accumulating growing money over the years on their own at Robinhood and Coinbase, and they've managed it. They understand how to buy and sell. Now, they might not always want to manage it themselves, but I don't know if somebody who builds this wealth on their own, who realizes, hey, this has grown to be more than I can handle on my own, I need some help and some advice, I don't know if they're going to be so quick to turn those over for you all of a sudden to bill. Yep. They might say, hey, I'll pay you $500 a month. Tell me what I need to do. Advise me on the allocations, rebalancing, what the overall funds need to be, but I can do that myself. I don't need to pay you to do that for me, but I want to make sure it's in my plan. I want to make sure I'm saving enough. And if you bill on AUM only, you're not going to be able to build those assets. So I think that because of the way they're used to handling things, I also think what we've seen with, the NFTs and crypto and metaverse, that this younger generation has been able to absorb some power away from the large institutions. You look at the Reddits, they blew up a hedge fund. They discovered that they have the power to come together and make change that they never knew they had before. Yep. I don't think people are that quick to give that power up. Now, they may not be able to take it all, but now this is a generation that realizes, hey, I can manage my own money, and I can buy Bitcoin, or I can buy ETH, or I can, get in on this GameStop thing. And while it might be risky, I'm okay doing it, and I can amass some wealth. I'm comfortable managing my money, where generations in the past maybe weren't comfortable because they were told they can't. This generation experienced it and they realized they can. Yep. They also are going to realize at a certain point they need some help. They need some guidance. They need, a sounding board. Be my sounding board, but I'm still going to handle this. And I'll pay you a monthly fee. I'll pay you an annual fee, but I don't want you billing me on my assets because I'll manage it myself. That's where I think the business ends up going.
Yeah. And I think you're ahead of your time a little bit, because especially as the way they've grown up is they've engaged with the subscription model way more than they've ever engaged with some sort of AUM fee-based relationship. Right. And so they're used to pay, and they're more comfortable, and they'll pay more. And you talk about some of the earners, and you and I are very similar life stages, and I'm in a similar boat. A lot of the conversations we're having now is, doctors, lawyers, whoever, they finished their school, they finished their initial foray into the professional world, and now they're accredited, now they're established, and they're starting to get their peak earnings. And they may be a little asset low. Their assets, their liquid assets they have are low. But now they've thrown some of this money into a Robinhood account or a crypto account, and now it's turned into something real for them. And they want to know that they have somebody they can turn to engage with them. And it's just going to be in a different way. So I totally agree with you that having the flexibility in the business to engage with them, especially with the way they pay for the advice, is going to be vastly important. And I think another thing, which I want to dive into a little bit with you now, is one thing I love. You made this post on LinkedIn actually, and it really hit me because I resonated with it because I felt it. Is that through your journey, you've kind of dipped into this creative side of yourself and this ability to get into your genuine self and kind of put a lot of yourself out there with your creating of content. And now you want to start going into art and music and get into all of those areas. One of the things that I see happening is, and this is where I think there's a lot of danger right now, that there are a lot of these influencer types out there that are giving financial advice. And a lot of people are listening because they're used to, going to YouTube or going to these social media platforms and getting these 3-minute videos, and they'll watch that. So I think, especially with the firm of the future, you're going to have advisors that have to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and start creating content, getting to know their clients and do it in a scalable way, which podcasting, blogging, all that stuff. So I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about your journey into that space as well, creating content, finding that creativity, and how it's helped you in the business, if you don't mind.
Yeah. The first thing I did when I launched my firm was start a blog. So the backstory to that is I found Josh Brown's Reform Broker while I was still at the 403B company. And I remember reading it religiously and I loved it. And I just thought this is such a cool way to communicate. And going back, I'm not aggressive. So for me, I thought, well, I can write about stuff that I find interesting and can educate people. And ultimately, I believe if I do a good job, people will want to work with me. So that's why I wanted to start the blog. And the creativity, I think, just came from, because I wasn't a creative person growing up. Like my life was basketball. Yeah. Like I did like art in school and I took an accelerated art class, but I never really did it at home. And I would have never considered myself artistic or creative. But through trying different forms of content, doing a blog and then doing video and then doing podcasting and then, experimenting and learning that, okay, maybe I'm not good at that. Like just that experimentation is what gave me the personal permission to try. And once I started doing that, the creativity came. And I've always, like you had mentioned music, I've always loved music. So like when I was listening to hip hop, like I always paid attention to the beats and I always really loved that. And I've always like thought, oh, it'd be cool to be a producer. And now through all this experimentation, like I appreciate those things more. And to be honest with you, I don't know where it came from. But back to your original question about, creating content, like creating content is what led me to this level of creativity. And I've learned that for me to be successful and happy in life, I have to have the freedom and flexibility to pursue that, whatever it may be. But going back to content, I believe it's table stakes going forward. If you want to be reputable and grow, to have some form of content. Yep. Now, you don't have to be the advisor that's posting on Twitter and, LinkedIn all the time, but you need to have some way to communicate to your clients and to prospective clients because people are looking for it. Yep. I have numerous clients that came to me after listening to my podcast for 6 months, 9 months, or a blog post resonated with them and that made them reach out. You mentioned my LinkedIn post resonated with you. Like that resonated with you. And there's a good chance that because that spoke to you, the next time you see my face on LinkedIn, you might read my next post because there's something common between us. We're on the same wavelength. There's some frequency together that's pulling us together. You want to put this content out. And I think it's very important to put out some personality into your content so people can start to figure out whether or not they like you. And you start to build these relationships and these bonds with your future clients through this content before you ever meet. And the beauty of it is if you do that well and you do it consistently, by the time that client reaches out to you, they already know they want to work with you. They know what you're about as an advisor. They know what to expect from your firm. They know your philosophies on investing. it's really you as the advisor. Do you think this person's a good fit for you? Do you want to work with them? Which is a really cool place to be as an advisor, because when we start, do you have a heartbeat? Come on in. I don't care if you're a jerk. You could be the biggest jerk in the world, but you've got $5 million. I'll take you. Yep. Eventually you get to the point where you're like, all right, my business has grown enough. I don't care that you have $5 million. We don't vibe real well. I don't like what you're about. Here's a better advisor for you to talk to. And you build this practice full of people that you want to be around. One of the things that I'm thankful for at OnRamp is when I joined, they allowed me to keep my RIA. And I made a pitch that there's business benefits to OnRamp for me to have my RIA, but I was not willing to walk away from the relationships I've built over the last 15 years. Because, my clients are all people that I want to be with. We have that commonality that pulls us together, and they're like friends and family. So it was never an option for me to sell my RIA to go all in on OnRamp. Yeah. What I said was, hey, I'll go all in on OnRamp as long as I can still work with my clients. I'll structure my day to make it work, and I'll go all in on both. And just that'll be what I'm all about when it comes to work. So I won't grow my RIA anymore, but I'm not giving up these relationships because I care about these two people too much. And the reason I care about them so much is because we have similar interests and we like each other. And I think that having a good content strategy and putting yourself out there allows you to attract those people that you will like working with and build a great business. So I do a lot of content because I really, really enjoy it. You don't have to do it all. You pick the form of creation that you are most comfortable and you think you're best at. If you're a writer, then write a blog, do an email newsletter. Don't worry about doing video or a podcast if that's not you. If you're not a good writer, but you're comfortable in front of the camera, or you like to do interviews, do a podcast, do a video, do what you're comfortable with. And as you get comfortable in that form, you might venture out and try something new, or maybe you just stay in that lane. You don't have to do exactly what other people are doing. You have to do what you're strong at and what you enjoy the most, because it takes time. But it's worth it. And I think a lot of times advisors, they want to know, what's my ROI on doing this? Like, if I pay this much from a marketing agency, I need to see this much return. Like, your payment in creating content, there might be some upfront costs, buying a blog or a WordPress domain or buying a camera, but the rest of the payment is going to be time and energy. Yep. And you're not going to see an immediate ROI. You might not even be able to track it because you may not always know that that client came from a blog post you wrote a year ago. Even if you ask them, they might not remember. That may have been put you on the radar, but they don't know when they come in that was the one piece that is why they're there that day. There's enough evidence of people doing it that this works, and you have to have a little bit of faith in the system and do it. So it doesn't mean that you give up everything else that you're doing. If you're good at doing seminars, or you're good at webinars, or you're the type that cold calls or shakes hands, like, still do those things. But when people Google you, having a website today is not enough. They're going to want to hear from you ahead of time. And if you have video or reading that they can do, that's going to help you.
Yeah. So let's connect. I love it all. Yes, totally with you. I think maybe how we can connect this back to crypto is, I feel like it's been interesting seeing a lot of talent start to utilize these social, like Twitter, for example, especially in crypto world. Twitter's like if you ask anybody, where do you get your crypto information? They're going to say Twitter, Telegram, Discord, those types of things. And when you say those three things to an advisor, like, they probably know what Twitter is, but when you say Discord or Telegram, they're like, I think I know what that is. But I think to make this connection back to crypto is something back to what you said also earlier, is that in the future, RIAs are going to have a team dedicated to just the digital asset side. And part of that could be also this kind of content creation, engaging with the new social networks, all that type of stuff. So do you see, you mentioned it, but you think that there's going to be digital asset teams at every RIA probably in the next 5 to 10 years?
Maybe not every RIA, but I think that having somebody in-house that's a specialist will be valuable and be necessary. And I'll tell you, it's already started. I have 2 new clients that have financial advisors that I am working with them kind of as their quote unquote crypto advisor. Yeah. So earlier this week, I had a meeting with a couple and their financial advisor who's done a phenomenal job, but he can't do crypto. And he actually knows crypto and believes in it. Like, if he could, he would, but he can't because compliance. So I am now a part of the relationship where I help advise on the crypto. make sure it's in the estate plan properly, be a resource and sounding board for them, because their traditional advisor can't do that. And the cool thing is, like, it was a really cool experience because, again, it's two advisors who might be competitors. I don't want the traditional business. I'm happy to help on the crypto side.
Yeah.
He can't do it. He needs me to help it. And we are going to collectively at two different firms work together to help this couple ultimately achieve their goals. Like, that's really cool. I would love for it that I get fired from that position, because that means OnRamp is then helping that company and he can now do it. So it's good for OnRamp. But yeah, if this space continues to grow like I think it will, and people begin to accumulate on their own, part of the reason that couples want help is that now it's a big enough number that it scares them to be responsible for it for themselves. Mm-hmm. They might be comfortable still holding it and having it on their ledger or at Coinbase, but they want to make sure that it's not too much. They want to make sure that if one spouse passes away, the other one knows how to access it, or if they don't, somebody can help them do that. Mm-hmm. Eventually, everybody's number is different. Some people's number may be smaller, some people may be real big, but if you aren't going to be able to help them, then they're going to be looking. And we've had multiple inbound inquiries at OnRamp. Hey, my financial advisor can't do crypto. Do you have somebody who could help me? Yep. So I'm working on building out a referral so we can hook our OnRamp advisors up with inbound clients that are looking, be able to connect them properly. But people are asking already. And this is back to your point. This is early on. Wait till it continues to grow. And if you don't have a way to answer the questions or help, or at least advise on it, clients are going to look, and maybe not every client is going to stay with you. They might find an advisor who does it all, and that might be enough for them to make a change. Yeah.
That's interesting. Cause we have a lot of similar conversations, which is interesting. We also spoke, another conversation we had recently, which was very illuminating, was we had parents who are traditional clients. Their kids are now 18, 19, 20 college graduates, and they've been in crypto for the last 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And they threw peanuts at it 4 or 5 years ago. And now they look at it and it's worth an exponential amount. And now the parents want us to talk to them because the kids don't want to go out and get a traditional job anymore. They just went to college, got a degree, and now they want to go into crypto. So it's not even just by being informed, you can not only help and, from the traditional ways of, making sure it fits within your goals and helping you achieve those goals, but also just, you can provide that value by just being able to be a voice of reason for the families you support, which I think is a huge value add, which is never, ever going to go away. Right. Like in my view, financial advisors, and what I've learned is that our job is not to tell people what to do with their money. Our job is for them to tell us the life they want to live. And then for us, through their financial means, help them achieve that life dream, whatever it is.
And that, as an advisor, if you don't view planning in that light, I think you need to think about it, because I believe that's where planning is going, is that it's more about helping people create the life that they want, not telling them the life that they should live. And like, that's something I talk about. I talk about pursuit a lot on All About Your Benjamins, and like pursuing your passions and minimizing regret. Like, so many changes are coming. I think that the career path is going to change with this next generation. I don't think anybody wants to work at the same job for 30 years and grind out and miss out the opportunity to spend time with their families. Coming out of COVID, we realize how precious life is and how we only have so much time, and that experiences are better than things. I think we might see the career path be, you grind it out of college, you get married, you have kids. And then like when you get to my age, I turned 40, you peel back a little bit. Maybe you plateau for a little while in your career, and you say, okay, I'm not going to save as much because my income's not going up and having kids is more expensive. Or I want to do more things today with my kids while they're here. I'll plateau out. They go off to college. At that point, I'm in my 50s. I'm probably going to work till close to 70 because I plan on living to be 110. I'll grind it for the last, 15, 20 years because they're out of the house and I have the time. So why would I miss out on my children's life and experiencing life with the people I live the most? Why would I miss out on that so I can have more time when they're out of the house?
Yep.
I could still retire at 70 and still hopefully be active and able to do things as well. But these are the years that I'm going to cherish the most.
Love it.
These are the years that when I'm older, that I'll have regret saying, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Or I wish I would have made less money to go do more. I wish I would have taken those trips, because now I got all this money, but I missed out on all that time. And I think our job as an advisor is to help clients find that balance, because we do have to be responsible and plan for the future. But I believe you can do both. If you know what your intentions are as an individual and you know what you value the most, then you can cut out the stuff that isn't important to you to free up the means to do the things that are important for you, all while you're planning for the future. So I definitely think that we are more about helping people create lives that they want and not judging them for what it is that they want, but helping them align their dollars and their savings and their investments to live that life. And then if they want something stupid, then like be that advice. Hey, that's a dumb thing to do. Here's the reasons why. But if they decide to do it, then they do it. And here's the impact. And here's how we have to reshape your plan. And this is what it means. And then you move forward. Because it's not our job to say that's the right thing to do. We say, hey, that's not the smartest, but if that's what you think is right for you and your family, as long as you know the opportunity cost and the risk, then you've made a decision that you can live with. So I think that's where, like, what's his name? I'm looking at the book on here. I can't see it. Can't think of his name, but life planning. I forget his name. The OG of life planning. It's horrible. I can't remember his name. I'll have to let you know so you can put it in the show notes.
Yes, please.
But that's what it's about. It's about aligning values with life. And I think life planning and that approach is going to be more prominent when it comes to advice. And again, going back to this generation, they value experiences and doing and living more than other things. And that's what they're going to want to do. I don't think anybody's going to be told, no, you can't take a sabbatical in the middle of your life to go travel with your family. It's okay. You might have to work till you're 70, but here's how we can make it work so you can go do that and then help them do that.
Yeah. Justin, you are demonstrating exactly why a podcast like ours, a podcast like yours, I think it's Advisor of the Future, is it called, right?
Advisor of Tomorrow.
Advisor of Tomorrow. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Can't believe I got that wrong. But this is why we need to have people like yourself on podcasts like these in the crypto space, because I think a lot of times financial advisors see the crypto world and they just see the Michael Saylors, they see the Scaramucci's, they see the people that are the technologists that are on the side that they're going to benefit. And from what we know and what I've learned about advisors is they truly value people who are in the thick of it. It's a completely different story to talk to somebody about something, an advisor about something specifically, when you're not sitting across the table from clients and you're not getting to hear their dreams, their fears, and what's going on in their life. That's a completely different dynamic. So for the community listening today to this episode, or wherever you're listening to this episode, I hope that having an advisor like Justin, who's in the thick of it, talking to clients, helping them manage their wealth, and incorporating crypto in a very disciplined and responsible way, that it's possible. You shouldn't be scared. And that's where I guess the last thing I wanted to end off here with is, what's the thing that you see advisors are scared of? And that's the reason why they don't jump into this space, not just allocating, but even just getting education. What's that thing that you see most in your experience with OnRamp so far and with practicing it with clients?
All right, I'll cover that. I have two quick questions. I'll be quick. George Kinder, that's the godfather of life.
Okay. Yeah.
George Kinder is who I was talking about. The other thing real quick, you don't have to adopt and love crypto to do the type of planning that we talked about. I was already talking about and doing that with clients before I really went into crypto. So I do think that the generation that wants crypto will want that type of planning, but you can have that mindset without adopting crypto. Absolutely. And I don't think you have to adopt crypto as an advisor either. Like, just because I think that and I have, doesn't mean I think it's universal. I do think that if you dismiss it and you won't talk about it, that'll be bad for business.
Yep.
But what am I seeing that advisors are scared about? It all comes back to compliance. And it all comes back that, like, our goal, our job as a financial advisor is to help our clients make smart financial decisions. And we're living in, for most of us in our career, we're living in a very weird time. Basically 12 years of markets doing nothing but going up with a few gyrations. So it's very easy. And we're trained that we know this can't last forever. We know when there's euphoria, that's a bubble. And we just don't want our clients to get hurt. And here you have, when it comes to crypto, this brand new asset class that a lot of advisors don't really know a lot about. They see these crazy returns, but also this massive volatility. Bitcoin's fallen 80% twice and 70% three times. Like, it's not an easy ride. It's hard to stomach. And at the end of the day, I know that we don't want to cause harm to our clients. Absolutely. So while yes, we want them to grow, we also don't want them to lose a lot of money. We don't want them to sue us because we put them in an investment that we really didn't understand. It went against us and they forced us to sell when it was down 60% and we missed the recovery. So it's all those things that we've been trained as advisors to protect our clients against that we kind of see as the alarms going off in this crypto space, which is why it all comes back to education. You shouldn't allocate to it for clients unless you really understand it. Yep. And I also think you should really buy into what the use case is for crypto and why people believe it and what it's doing. Like, understand decentralization and what that can mean, and understand Bitcoin for being bigger than just an investment. Yes, a lot of us are investing in it because we see the potential for appreciation, but it really is, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency really is a freedom for a lot of individuals. Mm-hmm. And we think third world countries, but there are a lot of people in the US that are unbanked, that live in banking deserts, that have no way of getting access to capital or having control of their own money, short of having it in a coffee can. Mm-hmm. But through crypto and like Cash App, now they can become banked. Now I could send somebody some Bitcoin or even some cash through Cash App. They have a phone, because everybody has a smartphone. They can get a debit card that's linked to their Cash App account that has nothing to do with any of the major institutions. And because of the freedom that this crypto space provides globally, that to me is why this is so exciting and why it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to dethrone everybody. We're still going to have the order that we're used to, but it is going to take a little bit of power from those institutions that have always controlled it and put it into the hands of individuals and give them a chance to have an opportunity they never had before. And that to me is why crypto is never going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think if you understand that potential, then you begin to understand why this is something that maybe you shouldn't be so scared of, and that you can allocate a little bit to. And then if you do the research in OnRamp Academy, you see that even a 1 or 2% allocation increase returns and reduce risk. It is a diversifier. And I think that it will continue to be that. So I think you really dive in and understand how this is going to change the world and what it really means above and beyond the appreciation. And then then the light bulb goes off and you understand and you see what this space really is doing and what it will do. And then I think you get a little bit more comfortable allocating to it in a way that makes sense for clients. Absolutely. So I don't think you should go 50% equities and 50% crypto. But I think that it all comes back to really understanding it. Yep. That is what will calm a lot of those fears and concerns. And then the last thing I would say is go do it yourself. Open up a Coinbase account, put some money in, buy some Bitcoin, send it to a wallet, like learn how it works and see that it's not as scary to use as you might think it is. Mm-hmm. If you never touch it, then you don't know how easy it is. There's teenagers that are doing this on their own. It can't be that complicated. So expose yourself and get proximate to it. As Tyrone always talks about, proximity, get proximate to it to have a better understanding. And then I think some of those concerns go away, and then just use good judgment with your clients about how to handle it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you for answering that, because I think a lot of advisors listening right now will resonate with that answer. And that's where I'll tie this back to the Academy and kind of where you guys provide a lot of value, especially for RIAs looking to get in the space, and for those compliance concerns. Like you guys have checklists, you guys have in all different facets, and setting up new IPS, ADV language, all that stuff, right? Setting up the whole infrastructure. So go check it out. Definitely need to do that if you're listening. But thank you. I think we covered a lot today, and I need to have you back on because there's so many other things we could talk about. But one thing I did want to give you the opportunity for is, I know something you do at the end of your shows is you have this question. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I was hoping we would get to this, and yes, I will definitely come back. So I was hoping we'd get to this. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, all good. So I'm going to give you the opportunity. So we talked about and jammed on music for a little bit. So your walkout music, if you had your choice and you were going to go talk on the stage and you're going to get introduced and all that stuff, what's your song that you're walking out to that stage to?
I've talked about this song a couple of times, and it would still be it. 1A, the one I would go with today would still be J. Cole's Middle Child. J. Cole is one of my favorite, like, newer rappers, although he's getting up there.
Not new anymore.
I know. I love what he's about. I love Dreamville Records and kind of what they do. But the reason I love that song is there's a line in there where he talks about leaving the studio with a younger rapper and then going to talk to Jay-Z. So he's this middle ground between the new rappers and the legends. And then J. Cole sits in the middle. And that's kind of how I view myself. It started with that song with just the advisors. I'm kind of in the middle of my career, yet I really do identify with younger advisors. Like I'll talk to some young advisors, some of my friends like Samuel Dean and some of the up and comers. And I think I'm the same age, and I realize I'm 10 years older than them. Yeah. But I identify with them. But I also know the OGs.
Mhm.
I know Josh Brown. He's a mentor of mine. Like I take him to dinner every fall. And here I am. I'm in the middle of those two. So I'm in the middle of the younger generation and the people who have paved the way. And I can kind of go back and forth and connect. But then now it's also evolved that I'm becoming the middle child between traditional financial planning, which is what I grew up in, and the future of financial planning, which is where I'm living today in OnRamp. So I view my middle child role here is I need to bring, the futuristic stuff back a little bit, but also the old school way of doing our practice and moving it forward. So I'm the middle child. So to me, the middle child sets the tone because I am that. The other one I thought about is Nipsey Hussle's Victory Lap. Today I tweeted a lyric from it. And I really love Nipsey Hussle. And that song, I just like it because it just starts off with a very, confident line. And then he talks about, finding your purpose, and it kind of lines to my personal visions. So that was more of a personal song, but middle child is kind of more of the professional. So two answers for you, but I'm going middle child pretty much every time right now.
J. Cole, middle child. So there you go, everybody. Take a listen to it. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of J. Cole as well. Listen to all his stuff. And yeah, great song. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Definitely.
And dude, this has been such a blessing. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing everything that you've been experiencing, crypto and non-crypto. And I hope everyone who's listening got a chance to connect with you, got a chance to connect with me. And I'm excited for the next time we do this, man.
Likewise. I appreciate it. It was a blast. We filled up an hour. It's supposed to be 45 minutes. It was an hour. So I appreciate it.
It goes way too fast. But real quick, where can people find you? What are the couple things that you would ask people to go check out for you? And we'll put it all in the show notes. But real quick, give a shout out.
So just onrampinvest.com, go there. That'll take you to the platform if you're interested in getting into it and learning more. It'll also be your place to get to Academy. So I'll plug those first. And then personally, I'm on Twitter a lot. So at Justin Castelli, JUS10 Castelli, CASTELLI, or you can go to justincastelli.io. That was a very hard thing to do, but it's basically like a fancy link tree. It's like I'm confident, but I don't want to be egotistical. So to have your own website was kind of weird, but it was the easiest way. So that's where you'll find the Advisor of Tomorrow, where I write to advisors, links to the company, links to OnRamp, links to the AGC, like everything's there. So justincastelli.io is the other place I would go.
Awesome. We'll get all that in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for all the work you do and everything you're bringing to the world, man. And I'm sure that your family is super proud of you.
I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
We appreciate you listening to this edition of the Asset Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Mark Nichols. Please don't forget to let us know how you like the show by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen. For more downloadable digital asset resources and educational opportunities, please visit us at arbordigital.io. We are here to help you get off zero safely and securely. Thanks again for tuning in, and be sure to tell someone you care about them. Cheers.
We are financial advisors. However, we are not your financial advisor. Unless you're under contract with or actively speaking with Arbor Capital Management or Arbor Digital, a division of Arbor Capital Management. This podcast is just that, a podcast. It is not financial, legal, or tax advice. If you have individual questions, please reach out.